Hi everybody, this is Effie. Welcome to 2020. This is going to be a very interesting video because for years I have struggled with self-identity. Who am I? What do I want to do for the rest of my life? So this is 2020 and I haven't really... So I was inspired by NikkieTutorial's recent coming out video. Granted, I may not be sharing as much information as her. I mean, it's very inspiring what she's done in the beauty community, as well as her video was super inspiring. I've been reading so many inspirational things, and there's some things that I feel like I needed to talk about in my own life. I mean, who am I? My identity, I guess. My past, maybe a little bit of my past will be shared here today. A quick disclaimer: if you are sensitive to topics such as sexuality, mental illness, eating disorders, anything in that particular area of expertise, or any particular subject area that I will be talking about, just please do me a favor and click out the video. Or if you want to leave a nasty comment, I'll make sure to delete it later. But today's video is going to be a rather serious topic that I feel like ever since I made my video on how I quit smoking, I feel like I needed to be a bit more honest. Not just because I wanted to, not because other people wanted me to be honest about my past. Of course, in my own life, I'm pretty open about my mental illnesses, my eating disorders, all of those things, and I wanted to transfer that openness into YouTube. Granted, I'm no famous YouTuber. I'm not an influencer. I don't plan on being an influencer. I only plan on, being a professional singer like I am right now, but also being Effie. And Effie, me, I have some very, very deep things to talk about in this video. So the first thing I wanted to address, and maybe some of you guys can relate to this, granted my mental struggles and all of that, I am bipolar. I have bipolar disorder. I have been diagnosed bipolar for quite some time. I'm also schizophrenic. So if there's a time, granted, I'm not as big of a YouTuber as most people on this platform here, but I definitely go through spurts. At the moment, a couple weeks ago, I did have an episode of depression, my depressive episodes, and I also have depression. So I know that mental illness is not something that needs to be taken lightly. I'm not making this up. This is actually a real deal that is going on in my own life and has been for my entire life. I've struggled with it since as long as I can remember. I was very little. I struggled with it in high school. I struggled with it in middle school even. I struggled with it for my whole life pretty much, and I never understood why I had these episodes of panic, these episodes of not wanting to do anything, and these episodes of mania where I would just constantly get things done and wouldn't even take a break, wouldn't even eat, sleep, drink anything. And it's hard because I have been through so many different things in my life. Granted, I'm not going to go through all of them in this video because a lot of them are very personal. I don't even tell hardly anybody in my own life, let alone the internet. Being as vulnerable as I can in this video, I have suffered with so many losses of so many people. I suffered with a good friend of mine in high school. Granted, I did make a cover video of Hear You Me for a friend of mine who committed suicide a few years back, about 4 years ago, as of around this month. And that video was hard for me to do. I actually had to film that video multiple times because I kept crying, and I cried after the video. But this video, I hope I'm not gonna cry, but if I am, I got waterproof makeup on at the moment. And I felt so horrible because I have gone through suicidal tendencies. My school I went to had a very high suicide rate. A lot of people in my school were committing suicide from the time I was in 8th grade. And that was a while ago, very long time ago, about 10 years ago. And that was a thing until I left school. Granted, suicide to me is a very triggering topic, and I don't like talking about it a lot because of the fact that I get really triggered and anxious, and I nearly go into panic attacks. So I'm going to try and keep it as blunt as I can in this video. Also, I've got a different camera in this video. Anyway, so what I was talking about, a friend of mine committed suicide and shot himself. Granted, he was a very close person in my life. And going through that, granted, I was on the brink of suicide multiple times. I attempted it. I had to be put on medication for it. And granted, I have been on medications for a while now, for about 8 years. And I mean, I wish I didn't have to take them, but I know if I don't, that something will happen. Or if I don't smoke my CBD, that something will happen. That I'll go manic, that I'll go depressive, that I'll give people attitude when I really don't mean to. And this video is to anyone who's struggling with that. Granted, I never pulled myself, I nearly have killed myself. Of course, I'm not saying to this to make fun of anybody who has thought of it, or anybody in that nature. I've self-harmed. I have scars from it, actually. Many on my arms. This was the main arm that I would scar. Granted, a lot of them have gone away. But the ones that are noticeable, granted, you would really have to look. But I do have scars on this arm right here. And I'd always have people ask me if I was okay. And of course, I faked it and said I was. When I was like, oh, well, my cat, attacked me, or this or that. But really, I was not okay. I was heavily suicidal. I would constantly try and kill myself all the time. And do things that just you don't want to do at all, even when I was on medication, even when I first started out on medication. Which kind of brings me to a little bit of a weird topic about eating disorders. I've been suffering with them for a lot of my life. I had a super abusive father growing up. My father is no longer basically in my life or alive to me. Never really has been, but I had a really abusive father. I'm a child of divorce. My dad was horrible to me. And I'm not wanting any sympathy from this video at all. I want to help those who are suffering with things that I mentioned in this video. I don't want people to say, I'm sorry, I've been getting that my whole entire life. And I'm sick of it. I don't want sympathy at all. But for this video, I don't want sympathy at all either, because I've been getting it my whole entire life. And this news is not new to me at all that I've shared on here. And so I suffered with a friend of mine committing suicide, as well as an abusive father who forced me into eating disorder until my parents divorced. And then I ended up later gaining a lot of weight. Those of you who've seen my videos from a few years ago will see what I looked like back then. I was super overweight. I had an eating disorder from Abilify. This is a medication that people take if they are for an antipsychotic. I took it for years until I took myself off of them and got switched to a different drug. And I am much better now. I was never the fat kid in school. I was always the super skinny kid that people would always look at and say, oh, have you eaten today? Granted, that's not something funny. I don't like it when people say that to me. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've been super skinny and super overweight. And I was not happy that people were saying that to me. I didn't want that to define me, I guess. Because people would always, I was an eater for a while. I had a really bad eating disorder. I would eat almost every minute of every day. Even while I was making these videos, I was thinking about food. And that's not something I wanted to do. And I felt really horrible. I did not feel pretty. I felt awful. And I wanted to fix it. And the way to fix it was to get off the medication that was actually making me feel worse than I was in a while. So I went off the medication and I took a different drug at the moment. And I'm not going to say what drug it is, but I am on a different drug at the moment. I'm still on my antidepressants and I have been for a while. But anyway, so those of you who are suffering with eating disorders or who have had eating disorders, granted, you can get through this. It's something that took me forever to get through and to feel good about myself. I've always had decent body confidence, even when I was overweight. But when you have an eating disorder and you mentally don't feel good and you have to constantly either starve yourself, purge, or even eat so much that you really can't control it like I did, you will notice that once you're done with that stuff, and if that's your life, if you want to live that way, that's okay. Granted, it may be different later in your life, and I would have doctors constantly tell me while I was on Abilify, oh, you're not that bad, you're okay, like you're doing much better than you were before you were on it. And I didn't feel good. I was constantly fighting people, like slapping people in school, and I had to get off that drug. It was not me. I didn't want to be violent like any relatives of mine that were known to be violent. And I inherited bipolar disorder from my father, and I luckily have never been that as bad as my father was when it came to that. But I wanted to stop, and I did. And that was so hard for me to get off of that eating disorder. And now it's been almost 4 years, and I've since been vegetarian for about 2 years now. And it's a great accomplishment in my life that I feel like I can finally stand behind and not feel awful, that because I still have a really bad fear of getting fat again, just because I was overweight. I was about 200 pounds, and I lost so far 70 pounds. I'm just trying to tone up my body. I'm not losing any more weight, and that felt so good to be finally back to skinny again, where I felt better in the clothes I was wearing. And I got rid of all of my skinny clothes when I gained a bunch of weight, and now I got rid of all of my fat clothes from when I gained a bunch of weight, and now I'm back to where I want to be in my life, in my weight. And it's so hard when you have people in your life that try and push you that, oh, you're so skinny, eat a cheeseburger. Oh, you're so skinny, eat all of this food. And then when you're super fat, oh, you need to lose weight. Oh, this, oh, that. I was very self-conscious of my weight. I suffered so hard. And granted, on the internet, you never know what someone's going through. And I always felt really horrible. When I started college, I was overweight still. When I left college, I was at a better weight. I wasn't what I wanted to be at, and I'm finally getting back to it. Pole dancing has helped me so much through that. So onto the topic of, I guess, since eating disorders and mental illness, they're very brief topics regarding my past relationships, a little bit more honest about that. Granted, I don't really want to be too honest about those. But like I said, I was with my ex that I call in this channel Ryan. I was with him for a while, and of course I remade an entire video on that, so I'm not going to go too specific on that. But that hurt me, especially after that relationship. I got into many other tens of 30s of relationships after that because I wanted that validation. Any of you, regardless of gender, regardless of sexuality, you don't need a partner to make you feel complete. You can do it so many other ways. It's okay to not have someone with you all the time. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to not be okay. I always felt when I was younger that I had to have someone by my side constantly, that I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to feel alone, and I felt more alone as time went on. I was a social outcast in school. I wasn't the nicest person in school, and I wish I could take back what I did to people. I wish I could have not been so mean. Of course, a lot of people in school were probably not the nicest. I don't know of many people that were the same as they are outside of high school as they were now. But I've changed so much as a person. I became more content with who I am. And I wish there were so many people that were nice to me that I wish I could take back whatever it is I did to them, because I was so horrible to people even though they were nice to me. I just hated myself so much for so long. And granted, I am slouching in this chair at the moment, but I feel like so many people in society, especially even nowadays, like people are taught so many different things about your body image. Many people, especially women, men, anybody, is told to fear your body parts or to save your private parts for marriage, to save them for a partner, to save them or to never use them, or, you know, never to self-explore. Granted, I was always very in tune with myself. I still am to this day. I'll make a separate video on that when I want to make a more uplifting video about that stuff. But I became a lot more, I've always been very sex positive. I've always been, well, when I was super religious, I was not. But my spirituality has changed so much. I'm no longer a Christian. I left Christianity. There's going to be a complete video on that later in this video. I'm not doing this for views. I'm not doing this for any other purpose. But I've stopped doing that. I lost my virginity very young. I was 11 when I lost my virginity, and it was not to a guy. It was to a woman. And of course, at the time, I've always known what sex was. The internet has been around throughout my entire lifetime. So I always knew what it was. I knew a lot more than a lot of people knew. Of course, nowadays I still have that mindset too, that, oh, I know quite a bit about sex. Of course, a lot of people come to me for that advice. I'll get to that in another video, but that's confidential information for now. But I've had so many people, I mean, I've had sex, obviously. I've never... This is an uncomfortable topic for me even. Like, yes, I may be open about my past sex partners, and I don't even get into details about my own personal life, my love life to anybody, let alone you guys on the internet. And the reason why is because I don't think it's anybody's business. It's my life. Fuck off if you think that you need to be in my life and be nosy. I don't even tell my own mom about this stuff. So, of course, I would say, if you feel uncomfortable with the whole sex thing, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. It's just, it was right at the time. Of course, anybody that's had sex before can tell you the same thing, that it was right at the time. It was something that, you know, you do once and you may do many other times after that, and sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't. Anyway, so after that, of course, I don't label my sexuality. Granted, many people aren't so respectful on that, as many people know aren't so super respectful on it, and just don't want people to be happy and think there's something wrong with you if you don't label your sexuality, or don't label your relationships or whatever it is in your life, and don't label certain things in your life. But I've became that person to where I don't like labels. I never really have, honestly. I've been labeled so many things in my life. People have bullied me. I've been labeled so many different things that I wasn't. It took me until last year to realize that I was not a whore. I was not being a whore. I can already tell you that the amounts of relationships that I've been through, I haven't had sex with all of them. I've had sex with very little of them. And it's okay. I stopped caring what people think of me. It's none of my business what people think of me. I'm trying to I'm in a much better mindset at the moment. Granted, this video is going to be very long. It's pretty long at the moment. But if you guys are staying this long to the video, granted, this is not a scripted video. My other videos are thought out and planned. I am impulsive, and I decided to upload this. So it's been a long video, you guys. I had to put my makeup on. I had to make this video. And another topic, I guess, would be regarding sexual assault a little bit, because I am a survivor and of the Me Too movement. I went through that with relationships and things like that. Right? I'm not going to get into too many specifics about that either, because that's very personal. But it's anybody who's been through it knows that it takes a toll on you, and it takes you so long in life sometimes to be trustworthy of people again, to want people to touch you again. It took me so long, and it's something that this video, I guess, I'm being a little bit more honest since it's now 2020. I forgot if my last video was made in this year or not. But for those of you watching this who stuck out for 20 straight minutes, I appreciate you guys. This sounds so depressing, and this video isn't my usual, more uplifting videos. But I want to be realistic, and I want to talk about me, kind of exposing my realities, I guess. And something that I'm not usually very open about, and things that I'm usually fairly open and honest with people about, minus the sexual stuff. I don't usually talk about it, but I thought I would bring it up in this video. And that is the end of this video, you guys. I will be back with another video. I'm gonna be probably double filming after this video onto a different video because I've got another topic that I need to put in this. So I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.